So I was on a walk today and two ideas came to mind. One is that one person's trash is another person's treasure, and the other is the whole concept of make, do, and mend. So in a giveaway pile, I found this steel snare drum. It's a Stewart, made in Japan, in pretty rough shape, lots of rust all around it, probably inside too, but I'll have to open up the, take the rims off and take a look inside to know for sure. But I'm going to try to get this back in working order. Personally, I'm more of a wood snare drum player as a drummer, but within the band context that I play in Blue Morello, we like to have that crisp snare sound. Right now, it's very far from that, but we'll see what we can do. To get the process started, I'm going to use white vinegar and aluminum foil. So I'll just put a little bit of this vinegar in a container, this little tub, and I'll dip it in the vinegar. And then I'll scrub gently. I'll gently scrub the outside of the steel snare drum so that it doesn't scratch it, but it gets a bit of that rust off. Okay, so at this point, I've taken the aluminum foil and the white vinegar, and I've scrubbed the outside of this shell and the rims thoroughly. So what I'll do now is take a drum key and loosen all of these lugs, take them off and soak them in white vinegar so that everything comes out of the crevices and bits in between. With a bit of further reading, I found out that Stewart snares were made in the 60s and 70s as part of entry-level stencil drum sets. This one was probably made by Pearl based on the snare wire branding, and then sold by various companies like Stewart. The condition of this drum, it's almost as if it was taken and buried underground for about 50 or 60 years. It is so grimy, and it was almost like there was sediment or some kind of plant matter in between the shell and the rims. So it's taken a bit of extra scrubbing, but the inside is a little bit less tricky. I can use Scotch-Brite or some kind of pad like that, and then put soap and water on it and scrub lightly the inside so that it's nice and clean, and then make sure that it's dry. And then at that point, I can use an oil like canola oil, for example, to very lightly coat the inside to prevent further rust from taking root, so to speak, inside the shell of the drum. Once everything was washed and scrubbed and oiled lightly, I could then take the tension rods and washers and other small components out of the soaking tub, the soaking container, and dry it off, and then reassemble the drum. So I'll take these rims, I'll put the head back on, line everything up, and start tightening. The snare drum is now fully reassembled and cleaned, and although you can see some scarring and damage, presumably from the rust on the outside, it is noticeably cleaner and shinier. One tricky thing was putting the snare back on at the right level of tension so that when I turn the snare switch on, the snare is audible, and also when I turn it off, it rings out openly and freely. Before I play the finished fixed up snare drum though, I will play the wooden snare drum so that you can hear the comparison between the two drum tones, between wood and metal. Here's the wood snare drum. Going into this, I was curious to what extent a little bit of elbow grease and basic cleaning products could take this snare drum back to its original sound quality. Evidently, it couldn't take it all the way. It's probably advisable to change the batter and reso heads of the drum, and probably the snare as well, in order to get that truly crisp, poppy snare drum sound that people are looking for when they play a metal snare drum. But it was an interesting exercise, and with a little bit of more investment in this, maybe the corrosion and rust aren't so important, and it can be played again